All right, everyone, buckle up because what happened overnight is absolutely mind-blowing and will completely change everything we thought we knew about this winter pattern. The weather models have done something I've never witnessed in my 7 years on YouTube, a complete 180-degree flip overnight. We've switched from a slow-moving frigid Arctic pattern that was locked and loaded to a fast-moving linear system. This is going to dramatically reshape who gets hammered by cold air and who sees massive snowfall events. This is the most extreme model turnaround I have personally witnessed, and it's absolutely insane. In this emergency breakdown, I'm going to walk you through these sudden and unexpected changes that happened while you were sleeping. I'll show you exactly how they're going to impact your weather moving forward and what this means for winter preparations. Because when the ensemble models, which are typically rock solid and resist change, suddenly flip this dramatically, you know something major is happening. This atmospheric shift is going to affect millions of people across the eastern United States. Before we dive deep into the shocking details, if you want specific forecasts for your city or region, drop them in the comments below. I'll personally answer as many as possible and give you the most accurate information for your exact location. Also, if this kind of cutting-edge weather analysis helps you stay ahead of the storms, smash that subscribe button. It really helps. Now, let me show you the comparison that's going to blow your mind and demonstrate just how dramatic this shift really is. Here's what every single model was showing just 2 days ago. A textbook Arctic siege pattern with intense cold locked over the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic. This pattern was supposed to persist for the entire first half of January with extreme warmth parked over western North America. That configuration was creating the perfect setup for nor'easter after nor'easter to hammer the eastern states. And here's what those same models are showing today. Night and day difference. Absolutely stunning. I absolutely hate when this happens, guys, but this is the risk we run when we're trying to give you advance warning of major weather patterns. We sacrifice short-term certainty for the opportunity to spot game-changing storm signals and pattern shifts days or even weeks ahead. But this is the consequence that occasionally happens, and I want to be completely transparent about these dramatic changes. Your safety and preparedness depend on getting the most accurate information, so let me break down exactly what shifted and why this matters so much. The European ensemble model from 2 days ago painted a clear picture of sustained Arctic air dominating the eastern states, with multiple opportunities for significant snowfall. It was showing rock-solid consensus across all ensemble members, which made it seem like an absolutely reliable forecast. Today's run shows a completely different atmospheric configuration, and it's honestly shocking. The GFS ensemble shows similar dramatic changes, though not quite as extreme as the European model, but still massive alterations to the pattern. Where we had deep, persistent cold air masses entrenched over the east, we now see a much more progressive up and down pattern. This new configuration is going to create a completely different winter weather scenario than what we anticipated. The ridge that was vertically oriented over the western states has shifted to a more tilted, transient configuration. This changes everything about how storms will track and intensify across the continent. Now, here's what this means for you. Instead of that sustained cold pattern we were tracking with multiple blockbuster nor'easter opportunities, we're looking at a more variable pattern with shorter duration cold shots and storm systems that move through much more quickly. This doesn't mean winter is over. Far from it. But it does mean we need to adjust our expectations. We need to watch for different types of snow threats, more fast-moving clipper systems, and less of those slow-moving, heavy snow producers. These are the systems that can dump feet of snow over multiple days and create major travel disruptions. Looking at today's European model output, we can see this new reality taking shape, with opportunities still present but more scattered. There are still winter weather opportunities, don't get me wrong, but they're going to be more hit-and-miss affairs requiring precise timing. The pattern is much more progressive, which means storms will move through faster, and the window for major accumulating snow events becomes much more narrow and precise. Here's the critical point. We need to take today's model runs with a significant grain of salt because of this massive overnight shift. When models flip this dramatically in such a short time frame, it often indicates they're struggling to lock on to the correct atmospheric solution. We could see additional changes over the next 24 to 48 hours as the models attempt to resolve this unprecedented uncertainty. That said, as of right now, this is our most up-to-date information and what we have to work with moving forward. The new pattern shows significantly more storm activity hitting the West Coast, with an uptick in precipitation for the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes. However, the eastern seaboard and deeper southern states see a notable decrease in overall storm activity. This is because the jet stream is no longer setting up that classic nor'easter track we were anticipating just 48 hours ago. This is one of the biggest features that has completely vanished from the model guidance within a single day. Absolutely unprecedented. Looking at total snowfall projections, what's surprising is that despite these massive pattern changes in a less favorable direction for sustained winter weather, there hasn't been a complete collapse in snowfall opportunities, which is actually encouraging news for winter weather enthusiasts. The mountainous West actually shows improvement in this new scenario, while the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast see moderate reductions. But these regions still maintain decent chances for winter weather events, just with different timing and intensity patterns. The Midwest and Great Lakes region continues to look active with multiple opportunities, though they'll be more of the quick-hitting variety, rather than prolonged siege-type events that can persist for days and create massive accumulations. Now, I want to address something important about long-range forecasting and why events like this happen occasionally. Over the past year and last winter, the models had developed an excellent track record for maintaining consistent temperature patterns. They were showing remarkable consistency with jet stream configurations even into the medium and long-range timeframes. This sudden flip feels more like what we experienced in previous years when cold threats beyond 10 days would consistently show up on models, only to dissipate as we approach the actual time frame, leaving forecasters and snow enthusiasts disappointed. I thought we had turned the page on that type of inconsistency as the models have improved year after year. But apparently I was mistaken in that assumption, and we're seeing some of those old unreliable patterns return. What this tells us is that the atmosphere is in an extremely volatile and unpredictable state right now. Small changes in initial atmospheric conditions are creating dramatically different downstream effects. This is what meteorologists call sensitive dependence on initial conditions, and it's clearly at play in this situation. This means we're going to need to be extra vigilant over the coming days and watch for additional model trends. We need several consistent model runs before we can have confidence in any medium-range forecast moving forward. For the immediate future, here's what we can say with reasonable confidence about the next few days. The next 72 hours will likely proceed as previously forecasted since we're within the reliable short-range window where models are typically accurate. Beyond that time frame, we're essentially starting from scratch with our analysis. We'll need several consistent model runs before we can establish the new pattern with any reasonable degree of confidence. What I'm going to do over the next few days is monitor every single model run like a hawk. I'll be looking for consistency signals that will help us determine which scenario is most likely to actually materialize. The January weather pattern has become a complete question mark just one day before we enter the new year. What seemed like a slam dunk winter weather setup for the eastern states has morphed into a much more uncertain and variable situation. But here's what I want you to remember. This volatility in the models often occurs when the atmosphere is transitioning between different dominant patterns. Sometimes this uncertainty resolves back toward the original forecast, and sometimes it confirms the new direction. We won't know which scenario we're dealing with until we see how the next several model cycles handle this situation. What I can promise you is complete transparency throughout this process as we navigate these unprecedented changes together. I'll continue to provide daily updates tracking every shift and trend so you'll know exactly what's happening as it develops. Winter weather forecasting has always been as much art as science, and situations like this remind us why we need to stay humble. We must remain flexible in our approach when the atmosphere throws us these unexpected curveballs that challenge our understanding. For those of you who've been following along with our winter weather coverage, I know this isn't the update you were hoping to receive. But this is exactly why we do this kind of comprehensive analysis, to catch these major shifts when they happen. We're committed to keeping you informed of changing conditions, even when the news isn't what we initially expected. The bottom line is that January 2026 has just become significantly more unpredictable than we anticipated just 48 hours ago. We're going to navigate this uncertainty together, one model run at a time, until we can establish a clear picture of what's ahead. This has been an absolutely shocking 24-hour period in weather modeling, the kind of dramatic shift that reminds us just how complex our atmosphere can be. Stay tuned for tomorrow's update, where we'll see if the models begin to stabilize around this new pattern, or if we're in for even more surprises as this volatile atmospheric pattern continues to evolve in unexpected ways. Wild times ahead, guys. Make sure you're subscribed because we upload every single day with the latest developments. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these critical weather updates, especially during periods of high uncertainty like this. Thanks for sticking with us through this unprecedented model shift, and I'll see you in the next video. We'll continue monitoring this situation closely and bring you updates as this fascinating but frustrating pattern develops. Remember, even in uncertainty, we're committed to giving you the most accurate and transparent information available. This is exactly why real-time weather analysis matters, to catch these dramatic atmospheric shifts as they happen. Until tomorrow's model runs, we'll be watching every development with great interest and anticipation. This is definitely one of the most fascinating and frustrating model situations I've encountered in my forecasting career. But that's the nature of atmospheric science. It's always keeping us humble and on our toes. Thanks again for your patience as we work through this complex forecasting challenge together. We'll have much more clarity in the coming days as the models hopefully begin to converge on a consistent solution. And we'll be here every step of the way to guide you through whatever winter weather pattern ultimately emerges.